People like you are what they call a busybody. You're really annoying, you know that? You're fired. The president of the company I work for has an extremely arrogant personality and habitually spews verbal abuse at employees. And so, I was finally given the boot. That was the last straw for me. I decided I could no longer follow such a president and made up my mind to quit. At the same time, I sneered to myself. Really? Firing me, huh? My name is Carrie. I turned 50 this year. I'm married to Gary, who is the same age, and our marriage is going strong. I've always enjoyed interacting with people, so I wanted a job that involved working with others. When it came time to job hunt in college, after much deliberation, I became interested in a sales position. I ended up securing a job in sales at a small to medium-sized company where I'm still working. Sales isn't just about selling products or services. It requires the ability to solve clients' problems and meet their needs, which can be challenging. My company has quotas, and there's a strong emphasis on results, which some find stressful. However, I seem to be suited for this job, having been the top sales performer since my 5th year, and I've been teaching the ropes to my juniors, improving the overall performance of the sales department. Steve Shaw, or Mr. Shaw as we call him, the second-generation president, appreciated my work, which I'm grateful for. I wished life could continue like this, but reality wasn't so kind. Mr. Shaw fell ill suddenly due to overwork and mental stress. He was a hard worker, staying late every day for the company, which eventually took its toll. Fortunately, he collapsed at the company, so another employee found him quickly and called an ambulance. Though his life was saved, continuing as president became difficult. Mr. Shaw was considerate towards his employees, paying more than other small and medium enterprises, and was well liked by everyone, making the whole company deeply shocked by his condition. I respected him and was very saddened, as I had hoped to work with him indefinitely. However, our company faced a significant issue, deciding on the next president. Mr. Shaw, still in his 50s, had no plans of retiring soon and hadn't chosen a successor. After discussions among the senior management, it was decided that his son, Steve Jr., would take over. Now, Steve Jr. had studied business in college and had experience starting his own company. An app developed by his company had even become popular for a while. Though his company was eventually sold, his background seemed promising. And we, the employees, believed we were in good hands when we heard he would become the president. At 26 years old, he was expected to bring fresh ideas to the company. However, he turned out to be a huge problem. Just a month after he took over, his true color began to emerge. First off, he was excessively results-oriented. While the sales department I belonged to was always somewhat focused on results, Mr. Shaw wasn't overly fussy about it. He looked at the process leading to the results and didn't impose harsh penalties for failing to meet quotas, making our department relatively stress-free compared to others. However, Steve Jr. criticized this approach as being too lenient and insisted that the company needed to focus more on results to grow. He imposed strict quotas on every employee, berating anyone who fell short even slightly. How can you not do something as simple as this? Do your job properly, you salary thief. I thought it was too harsh, but he was the president, so I couldn't protest too much. And his verbal abuse only worsened over time. One day, a young female employee who left early due to illness was called into the president's office and came back in tears. What happened? I asked out of concern. Steve Jr. scolded me for not meeting my quota and using my illness as an excuse, calling me societal trash and a failure as a human being. This employee had just joined the sales department and was still learning the ropes. The high quotas imposed by Steve Jr. were impossible for her to meet. I was outraged and decided to confront him. In his office, I said, "I heard what happened with the female employee. Don't you think you went too far? The quota set for her is unachievable for a newcomer. Can't you reconsider your approach?" But he just sneered. "This company is mine. What's wrong with running it according to my policies? If you don't like it, you can leave." I was furious. Changing jobs isn't that easy. Think about your employees before saying they should just leave. He didn't like my retort and glared at me. "You're challenging me, the president? Disrespectful, especially from your age." "Well, you're being disrespectful yourself talking like that to someone older like me. Sure, you're in charge, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Even if they're subordinates, you should at least treat them with a minimum level of respect." He then became so angry that he yelled, "Shut up! Be quiet, old lady!" and kicked me out of his office. I was appalled at his tyrannical and childish behavior. At the same time, I wondered how he managed his previous company with such a personality. I went to the hospital where Mr. Shaw was admitted to visit him. My main goal was to see how he was doing, and I brought his favorite flowers. However, I also wanted to talk about his son, Steve Jr. Upon entering his room, Mr. Shaw greeted me with a smile, looking well despite being in bed. "Thank you for coming, Carrie. Could you just place the flowers over there?" "Sure thing, Mr. Shaw." I placed the flowers on a small table next to his bed. After some small talk, I broached the subject of his son. About the new president, Steve Jr., he seems to be quite harsh on the employees. He's even made some cry because they couldn't meet their quotas. Hearing this, Mr. Shaw's expression darkened, and he held his head. "Oh God, is he doing the same thing again? You know he started a company in college, right? He had issues there too, berating employees for not meeting targets after forcing them to work long hours. Luckily, they were all college friends, so it didn't escalate, but people started leaving him and he had to let go of the company. It was a difficult time, and I did a lot to help." So, Steve Jr. had always had issues with this character. "Respectfully, sir, why did you choose him as your successor then?" "I thought he had learned his lesson. After selling his company, he said he wanted to become someone who could empathize with others and even did volunteer work. He realized he had been blinded by results and hadn't considered people's feelings, admitting he had done wrong. He has a knack for business and is good at connecting with people, so I trusted him with the company, but I thought he had changed. I'll give him a call and warn him." Mr. Shaw promised, making me think things might get a bit better. But the next day, I was summoned to the president's office. Assuming it was about yesterday's issue, I went there to find Steve Jr. sitting there, looking smug. "You ratted me out to my dad, didn't you? Nice going. Because of you, I got a lecture from my dad." He lashed out at me, clearly not having learned his lesson. "People like you are what they call a busybody. You're really annoying, you know that? You're fired," he declared. And that was the last straw for me. I decided I could no longer tolerate such a president and made up my mind to quit. At the same time, I sneered to myself. "Really? Firing me, huh?" That evening, I told my husband I wanted to quit my job. He was quite surprised at first, but after I explained the situation, he understood. "Following that president would only lead to more trouble. You're already 50 and we have enough savings, so why not retire early and relax?" "Yeah, but I do like sales work, so I'd prefer to find another job. Though it might be difficult at this age," I replied with a sigh. "Then how about I introduce you to a company run by someone I know? They've been complaining about needing more sales staff," he offered. The company was a rival of my previous employer, but I hadn't heard many bad things about them. I happily accepted the offer and left my former company on my own terms. Steve Jr. mocked me, saying, "Goodbye, busybody." But I simply said, "Thank you for everything. It'll be tough, but try not to have any regrets." And left it at that. The new company was a breath of fresh air, free from snide superiors, making it a comfortable place to work. The sales department, filled with young and inexperienced staff, struggled to achieve results. They hired me, a veteran, hoping I would train and guide them. The juniors listened to me willingly, which was a big help. Our sales performance gradually improved, so there was less to worry about. My previous sales achievements were highly valued, so my salary didn't decrease significantly. I felt incredibly lucky to have found such a good company at this stage in my life and was determined to do my best in this new environment. However, 6 months after leaving my previous job, an incident occurred. Steve Jr. showed up at my current workplace. Seeing him, I thought, what an unwelcome visitor. But greeted him nonetheless. "President, well, I guess you're no longer my president." "Steve Jr., what brings you here?" I asked sarcastically. He looked distressed and apologized. "Carrie, can you come back to my company? Please, I'm begging you." "What?" I was taken aback, not expecting such a request, and found it oddly polite of him. Curious about the situation, I asked. "Did something happen at your company?" "Our clients have started to say they want to terminate contracts with us." After explaining why you left, everyone's attitude became colder. It was just as I thought. I had always treated my clients with respect and worked hard to build trust, and some companies were willing to sign contracts specifically because of me. Without me, it was natural for them to look elsewhere. Gaining new clients would undoubtedly be a struggle without me, considering I was the top sales performer. Anyone who learned why I resigned would question his character. Especially in these times, such behavior is likely to be highly frowned upon. I had foreseen this outcome and told him try not to have any regrets. However, I never imagined he would actually ask me to come back. "After all the dislike you showed me, it's audacious of you to ask me to return. It's incredibly selfish to flip your stance just because you're in trouble," I sharply retorted, and he looked even more troubled as he faced me. "The problems within the company aren't just about that. After you left, other employees began to resign voluntarily in a similar manner. Initially, I thought hiring new talent would suffice. But even the new hires are leaving soon after joining, leading to a severe staff shortage. Our company has been abandoned by clients as well, and operations are struggling. If this continues, we might face bankruptcy," he said, clearly distressed. Yet, I had no intention of helping him. "I won't return to your company. What's happened is your own doing, and I like my current company," I firmly stated. But he pleaded, "I need your help. You were our top salesperson." I was getting fed up with this persistence and coldly replied, "I don't work for you anymore, so whatever happens to you is none of my concern. Goodbye." I left him standing there and went back inside the company. The next day, he appeared again, causing a scene at the reception. "Ma'am, there's a man outside demanding to see you, threatening if we don't let him in." Upon hearing his description, I knew it was Steve Jr. I explained our relationship to the receptionist and said, "If he doesn't leave, you can call the police. I won't be troubled if he gets arrested." He left before the police were called, but I encountered him again after leaving work. "You're really something, aren't you? You have a capable father, the former president. Why not rely on him?" He looked down, embarrassed, as I asked him. Well, that's the thing. I've been disowned by him. I said to some people at work that I'd do whatever I wanted with the company he gave me. It seems that got back to him and he's washed his hands of me, saying he can't deal with my troubles anymore. While he's taking care of finding new jobs for the employees, saying they're not to blame, he's left me to fend for myself. The exodus of employees hasn't stopped and no company wants to buy mine. I really don't know what to do. I was utterly flabbergasted. At the same time, I felt sorry for Mr. Shaw getting dragged into such a mess. Haven't you heard the saying, what goes around comes around? If you say terrible things, they'll eventually come back to you. Besides, isn't your father physically weakened by his illness? You should be ashamed for causing trouble for your sick father. I scolded him, and he suddenly grabbed my arm, pleading, I truly regret the trouble I've caused so many people. Please, come back and help me. He begged loudly, but we were on a public street, attracting the attention of passersby who looked at us curiously. One of them even laughed and pointed their phone camera at us. Whoa, what's that about? Prompting me to quickly leave. If you show up in front of me even once more, I'll definitely call the police. I warned him before hurrying home. Later, photos of Steve Jr. shouting and grabbing my arm circulated on the internet, embarrassing him. His personal information was leaked, leading to pranks at his home. Additionally, people began to denounce his past misdeeds online, and it went viral. His company's employees were likely among those who exposed him. In today's digital age, once information is on the internet, it's hard to erase. Steve Jr.'s incident became news on the internet, making it impossible to undo. I was worried it might affect me too, but luckily, only my profile was captured, not my face, so my personal information wasn't leaked. I was relieved, and even received comments at work like, "Good thing your face wasn't in the picture." Steve Jr. was mocked by countless people online, but nobody sympathized with him. His company's reputation was already poor. Eventually, all of his employees left, and his company faced dire straits. No one would follow a president known for violence and tyranny. He reaped what he sowed, being humiliated online for looking down on others. His company soon went bankrupt, and he was left drowning in debt, forced to sell his car and luxury items and move to a dilapidated apartment. Finding a new job was difficult due to the online scandal. However, a man approached him with a business proposition, and Steve Jr., desperate for money, got involved. But it turned out to be a scam. The victim sued him, and his accomplice fled. He was arrested by the police and once again became the focus of online attention. He was vilified as a criminal, and with a significant amount of money swindled and little sign of remorse, he was sentenced to prison. Hearing this news, I felt vindicated in cutting ties with him and hoped he would suffer. With his criminal record, his life was bound to be difficult. Meanwhile, I continued to enjoy my work at the new company, maintaining my top sales performance. My juniors have become adept at sales and are trusted by clients. However, I'm not ready to give up my top spot, so I continue to work hard. Mr. Shaw became a focus of public attention due to his son's scandal. I must have gone wrong somewhere as a parent. It's my fault for causing everyone so much trouble. He lamented, worsening his health. Despite recovering from overwork and being discharged, he ended up hospitalized again. I visit him occasionally to support him, recognizing the help he and many former employees received from him. I want to repay that kindness and be there for him. Other former employees also visit sometimes, ensuring his room is always filled with flowers and fruits. Thanks to everyone's support, he's gradually getting better and should be discharged soon. I pray for his swift recovery.